On today's show of Sitting Courtside, we have got another wild weekend in college basketball, an insane recap, top teams this close to going down. Some did fall. We also, of course, got our top 10 updated. We also are going to run through a slew of picks for the week. So without further ado, let's start the show. Welcome to episode of Sitting Courtside. Today is Tuesday, Kyle. Come on. January 23rd, and college basketball is in full swing. We have conference play, we have upsets, and we are finding out who's who in college basketball. Kyle, take it away with the recap.
Yes, a huge recap of just a wild Saturday. Nothing on Friday, nothing on Sunday really that went on in college basketball, but all day Saturday was just loaded. We'll start at the very top here with the number one team surviving on the road, UConn, 66-65. This one really felt like Nova put everything they had into this game. They just do not have enough offensive firepower to stay with a team like UConn. They tried to drag it through the mud, real low scoring game, but UConn got it done.
Yeah, and I told you, I recapped it for the people. I said Nova was going to cover this game. I picked them to win the game because they're my team. I was going to wear the jersey on the show if they win the game. I'm just going to say that now. So they're going to get a big one at some point, but they gave everything they had to that game. And honestly, UConn pretty much controlled that game, I feel like, the entire time. Yes, Nova got them to play their tempo, but I just more to come on Villanova in a moment later that I have a nice little special for you, Kyle. But yes, it is what it is. UConn, number one team in the country for a reason. Nova did what they could, but not enough.
Yep, they've now separated themselves in the Big East too. I think they are 7-1, while every other team has at least two or more losses in the Big East. So they're starting to separate themselves in a very competitive conference. A little bit of a shocker here. Number three, Kansas gets a rough road loss. This is actually a quad three loss for Kansas, 91-85 to West Virginia. And this really came out of nowhere. I mean, West Virginia was 2-6 in their last 8 games. They haven't been relevant all season, so this one was ugly for Kansas.
So I have a fun story for you.
Okay.
Kansas specifically. I've not decided to make them dead, but I kind of am still upset with just how things have went with them. So I'm going through my natural morning Saturday where I'm pulling up the lines, going to a couple of the websites, seeing what different experts are saying, different lines. I'm avoiding pretty much that game. I'm like, it's not worth betting, whatever. So I'd start to scroll just at the end. There's a couple of times where I'll look at the betting pros and there'll be like a game I'm not sure of, but I'll throw it on the slate, right? I'll throw it on there, like, okay, let's see what happens here. More of a test, right? I want to see what's going to happen. Scrolling. And it happens to stop on West Virginia, Kansas. And bam, it hits me. West Virginia can win this game.
Okay.
West Virginia can win this game. Okay. So I did what a crazy person would do, and I put a half unit on West Virginia to win that game. I did not lock it in the betting pros because, again, this was one of those weird moments in life when you're gambling that you really can't explain why.
Yeah.
You really can't explain why, but I was like, I have a good feeling about this. I almost tweeted it out like for Huggy Bear, but then I thought that might be a little over the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, West Virginia, that's the only big win they will have. I don't expect them to win another game. The rest of the Big 12. Kansas, you got what had coming to you. I feel like now your debt has been paid for that ridiculous win you got against TCU that you did not deserve. Congratulations. You are now maybe on my good side. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Nice call. Nice call. Because I definitely avoided I've pretty much avoided West Virginia all season. So.
Well, again, they're one of those teams that we've loved to love for a really long time, and we have not said a single word about them this season. I feel like that may have been a little bit of it. Maybe it was like a little bit of like gambler's regret of like why do I just avoid West Virginia at all costs this year?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, this next one, as you were talking about, you were scrolling through the spreads. This one shocked me with how low the spread was. Tennessee played against Alabama at home for Tennessee, and the spread was only 5.5 when I saw it on Saturday. And I thought it was what am I missing here? But Tennessee absolutely blows out Alabama 91-71. One of my easier wins of the weekend.
So you did go with it.
I did go.
That was almost my rat line of the weekend, and I avoided it because I'd watched Tennessee earlier in the week pretty well handle Florida.
Mhm.
Alabama, a much better offense. Number
Yeah.
one offense, actually, we go by Ken Palm. I completely just avoided that game altogether because I was like,
Mhm.
I cannot trust either of these teams. So
Mhm.
kudos to you for pulling the shot because yeah, you had that game within the first 10 minutes.
Uh-huh, definitely. It was over very quick. Let's go over to the Big 12 where Texas gets a huge home win, 75-73 over number 9 Baylor. And this is just such a weird season for Texas. Every time you think they're done, they pull off one of these big wins. This now makes them 4-5 against quad 1 through 3 teams so far this season, 9-0 against quad 4 teams. So if you can try to figure out this team, you're better than me because I can't figure out Texas at all. I picked Baylor in this one, never was comfortable with it though. It was like a 1 to 2 possession game the entire game, so I was worried from the tip.
So the last 8 minutes of the game we talked about offline was horrendous.
Uh,
I did what we talked about the other day with that game though. I did not take a side. I took Baylor over 71 and a half. They had
mm,
65 points with 7 minutes and 48 seconds to go. Okay. So I went off to do something very quickly, came back at the 4.5 minute mark, and they had not scored. And that is when I was locked in because
yeah,
if you all remember previous episodes, the same thing happened to me with Creighton,
yeah.
where I needed like 6 points in like 5.5 minutes and barely scraped by on like a last second three. Baylor, I don't trust you. You stink. You're not good. I have more to give you on that.
Okay.
But again, my little surprise for
Okay, I like it. I like it. And this was a game Baylor, like from how they're the most efficient 3-point shooting team
you.
in the
Yeah.
nation. They should have won it going off that because they hit 50% of their threes. It just, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Also, Rodney is his name. Last name's Rodney, I
Mm,
think. Texas
yeah,
coach. Quit
yeah,
talking to the media. You
yeah.
clearly did not go to coaching school. You can't 3 days prior to this game say, "Oh, they jumping up and down," oh, and then
Uh,
you jump up and down like a schoolgirl on a last second shot. I don't care that you have energy, but just like be mindful. Like just quit
yeah.
talking to the media. You clearly, you and your bottle glasses that make look like you want to be like Elton John. Just stop.
Yeah,
Just
I like
stop it.
it. All right, let's move on to the next one where we have number 12 Auburn extends their winning streak to now 11. They blew out Ole Miss, number 22 Ole Miss. They fell out of the rankings,
As
82
they
to
should.
59. But yeah, Ole Miss that 13-0 start that's well gone. That's not a good team, but Auburn, man, they have just been rolling since what their early season loss to start the season. So
Smartest man in the room right here, dude. I was not on them and I was smart enough to realize my mistake. So happy I jumped on them like a week and a half
uh,
ago. So kudos to Auburn and the Pearl. I'm not sure what I'm gonna call it now. The Pearl boat. That sounds right. We're not we got the Must Bus. We're on
yeah,
the Pearl boat.
okay,
Um, Also the Ole Miss. That's only their second loss, right? But both of them by
yeah,
like 30 plus.
it's their third loss. They've now
Third
lost three in
loss.
conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
They might be the only like well quote Power Five, quote Power Six school that has 3 losses and is not ranked.
Uh-huh.
I'm
I
saying
think you're
that
right.
may being wrong, but like they
No,
get
yeah.
demolished. Like they're not getting beat. They're getting demolished when they play good teams. They're
Yeah,
maybe not a top 50 team.
they've played 3 road games in conference. They've lost by 26, 9, and 23 here. So ugly.
Oh, and see the 20. That was not a 23-point game. They
No,
must have
not at
got
all.
some like scrap buckets at the end. That
Uh,
was a torching.
yeah, it was 20 at half. So yeah, it was blowout. All
On
right,
a
this
bad
next
side
one.
with that, this is a gambling
Yeah.
show. I had the over 82.5 for Auburn. They scored 82.
Oh, that
Talk
sucks.
about brutal because they weren't trying to score basically. They were up 30
Uh,
points.
yeah.
And of course, Ole Miss doesn't foul down the end because, like, why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, down by a million.
Only bad beat of the weekend for me, I have to admit.
Okay. Okay. This next one is sneaky good win here for Marquette, picking up a road conference victory over St. John's 73-72. They did try to blow this one at the end, but they held on by one. The Big East, I already said, is being dominated by UConn right now, alone at the top. Seton Hall's in second, and now there's just a glob of teams that have 3 and 4
Mhm.
losses. Like the middle of this is going to never shake out. We're going to be going into the conference tournament with like 6 teams with the same amount of losses.
All right, I got a question for you. Big
Okay.
East specific. Since we have this hodgepodge. Neutral court game. Okay.
Okay.
Let's say in like, I don't know, Florida. As far away as from Big East country as we can get. Make it Arizona, Las Vegas. I don't care. You gotta pick. You gotta take one. Marquette,
Of the big,
Marquette, Creighton, St. John's, Providence, Seton Hall. Who do you take?
I think I'm going with Creighton. I think I just have more faith in their coach than the rest of them. And they should be the most talented. They definitely should be the most talented. Going into the year, they were a top 10 team, but that's who I think I would go with is Creighton.
I think I might take Seton Hall.
Yeah. I
They
mean, they've
just
been,
have they play like this truly like just dirty, rough, old school Big
yeah.
East style of play that I think if you did like a tournament, like they're the team I can trust to show up and you get what you get. Creighton
Uh-huh.
Marquette are the better teams, but like when they're on, they can beat anybody in the country. When they're off, they're dog shit.
Uh-huh. They
They're
really are.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Seton Hall, they lost this past weekend to Creighton by
Yes.
3, but before that, they had won 9 of their last 10 games. So yeah, I mean, that's not a bad pick. Not a bad pick. All right, let's keep it moving here as we go to the Big 12. Number 24, Iowa State takes down number 19, TCU on the road, 73-72. And these two teams just, they feel like they're the same team to me. Like, I
Yes.
don't buy Iowa State, and I definitely don't buy TCU. They just feel like they're the same team.
So we got the same thing in the Big 12.
Yeah.
We talked about it over the weekend. Like
Uh,
the Big 12 was I don't think they're good.
yeah.
They're not even like at least in the Big East. Like if I think about the Big East and I think about those teams, and I think about those teams playing other conferences, they're gonna win. I
Mhm.
feel like 7 out of 10 times. The Big
Yeah, I
12,
agree.
the Big 12, literally, I think they might lose to every conference in America.
Yeah, so far in conference play, it's pretty much been that way, seeing every team basically has 2 or 3 losses already.
Like right now, you could convince me right now. Like I think it's Conference USA or AAC. I don't know which one it is. Like Kansas could probably go lose to Tulane tonight.
Yeah.
Like that's where I'm at with the Big 12. Like
Yeah.
they're a hodgepodge of teams, but I don't trust any of them.
Like,
Which now, lightning thought. Let's say they get 6 teams in. I'm gonna say right now, 4 of the 6. Let's say if that's the number, 80% of their teams won't make it out of the first weekend in March Madness. Let's just call it that. Get rid of the numbers. 80% of their teams will not make it out, and they definitely will be one of those like 3 or 4 seeds that gets upset that no one's seen coming except this
mhm.
show.
Yep, I like it. And they're getting more than 6 in. That right now, it looks like they're going to get close to 10 teams in. So,
As it, see, I like to follow one of our I'll say old colleagues on the Twitter when we used to do a
okay.
certain app.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can find what his handle is. It's like T3 Bracketology. Yeah, T3 Bracketology. That's what it's called. This dude, he might watch. He might be the only person in the country that watches more basketball than you. But he puts
Okay.
out his thing, and I wanted to say he only had like the Big East with 8, and I think they were leading.
Yeah.
Uh, all conferences. Let me see if I can find what he had.
Just for
Do
comparison, Lenardi has his out from Sunday night, and he has the Big 12 with 10 teams in.
see, but it's hard for me to trust guys like that nowadays with the way like gambling goes and all that because they're all connected now. This guy
Mhm.
literally he's just a dude that's
Yeah, he's
obsessed
just
with basketball. He has no qualms. He doesn't get paid to do his thing. I can't find it, but either way, it'll be interesting.
yeah.
Needless to say.
Where
Shout
was
out that guy. I don't know what your
Yeah,
name is.
but shout out. All right. One of your squads here, Texas Tech, number 25, beats number 20 BYU, 85-78. Texas Tech is rolling 10-1 in their last 11 games with that only loss to Houston. They are absolutely on fire right now.
They're on fire, but again, I don't know if I trust them. Like I think they're doing great, but I don't know if I trust them.
uh, I I'm pretty out on BYU now. I've seen enough of them in the Big 12 games that I don't think I can trust them. I don't think I can buy them. They've
I
not
don't
really
know
done
though.
anything so
We
far in the
talked
Big
about
12.
their schedule though. Like they started
Yeah.
out about as tough a schedule as you possibly can. What's their record in the Big 12? Are you looking at right now? They have 3
Yeah, two and
losses,
yeah,
right?
2-3.
I don't remember the
They
exact phrase. Someone could probably pull it, but I think I may have said they were only going to lose 3 games in the Big 12.
they've hit that
Like I
quota
went out
already.
now. Here we go.
Yeah, yeah. And they have a nice matchup this week at home against Houston on Tuesday, so that'll be fun.
I hope Houston's favoring that game, and I will definitely take BYU.
All right. So gosh, we got to talk about this one, I guess. My boys, number 7 Duke takes
Ah,
a rough home loss to Pitt, 80-76. And Duke was down 2 starters and their number 1 fan. As I could not focus on this game with the Packers game being on. So I'll admit I was a bad fan. It was on, but I did not pay much attention to it. Roach and Mitchell being out obviously hurts them, but they didn't get absolutely anything from the rest of the players that normally don't play. Like they played 4 like normal players, like they all scored all but 10 points, but the bench was atrocious.
yep.
And I mean, the defense just looked terrible from the parts that I did see. But this is not going to come. They're not going to look good on the resume come March.
So again, we've had this discussion before, and I feel like it faded into the sunset a bit, only to rear its ugly head. Where's the panic button right now?
I'm not panicked about this loss because of the 2 guys being out. Like I know this team has no depth, and like I know they only go 6 deep. And so when you have just 4 decent players on the court, and then you can't rely on the 5th guy to do literally anything, it doesn't shock me that a team goes in there, shoots 60% from the field, 50% from 3, and takes you down.
I actually meant to look this up, and it just now hit me. How do you spell John Shire's last name? Scheyer?
Yep.
Curious if I can see this. I'm starting to think John Shire has a couple of these now that if you take out the first couple of years of Coach K's, he might be approaching that number. Like, this is quite a few big losses as like a top team in the country.
Well,
Now
if you
again,
remember, like at the beginning of February last year, it was like, are they going to miss the tournament in this first year? And then
yes.
they went on a run. So
I guess okay, good counterpoint. Good spin zone. I don't know. I'm getting a little nervous. However, I do also want to get your thoughts. How does it feel to know that, like, for college basketball, it's like every team's Super Bowl to beat
yeah.
Duke in
Uh-huh.
Cameron? Like that celebration from Pitt, you would have thought that they just won like the
Uh-huh.
ACC tournament and got into the dance.
Yep. Standing on the scoreboard or score table,
Yeah, like, but how does
taunting
it
the
make you feel
fans
though?
and
Like, do
everything.
you like get angry about it, or are you like, yep, that's just the way it is. We're the best, and you gotta just deal with it?
No, I get it. It's like I just accept it because even when we go on the road and say like right now we're ranked in 15th or something, we can be an underdog on the road just to an average ACC team. That's just what it is, and they'll still rush the court.
Yeah.
So,
So similar to a popular event that's going on social media right now with Iowa
uh-huh.
on the girls' side, lose on the road at Ohio State. Ohio State's a top 20 team in women's basketball, and they storm the court.
Yep,
It's like,
knock over Caitlin Clark.
you guys are a top 20 team. I'm
Yep.
sure you, I don't, there probably wasn't even a line for the game, but like, if I'm an Ohio State player, I'm almost like angry about that because it's like, guys, we're at home, we're a top 20 team. You should have expected us to win this game, not storm the court like it was a miracle.
Yep. Yep, I agree. And I just do want to note this was the first loss for Duke in 9 games. So they
Yes.
did beat Baylor in
Yes.
that time. They also have a sneaky, like their ranking is 12th, but they really only have that one quality win this
Yes.
season. Baylor is like their
Also,
only real big win.
Curse of Mango, I just realized last week was the first week that I put Duke on my top 10. They follow up with a loss. It's the curse of Mingo. I cannot like teams. Luckily, knock on wood, it's not happened to Texas Tech or Auburn yet.
Yes.
We're pacing ourselves, but
Yeah.
I just thought of that. I was like, oh shit, I just saw
Uh-huh.
like Duke last week and then they lose.
Yep. All right, let's move to our probably our favorite conference, the Mountain West, where Boise
Yep.
moves to a tie atop the conference with a 67-66 win over San Diego State. And it's going to come down to the wire. There's so much parity. Whoever's on the road, it's like if you can get like 3 big conference road wins in this conference, that might make it enough to get you in the first place because everyone is having such a hard time going on the road and winning in the Mountain West.
Yes. On top of that, whoever the media is, take away their voting rights. Take them away.
Mm-hmm.
How is it every person that watches college basketball in America knows that right now that is probably the best conference next to the Big East in the country?
Mm-hmm.
And yet Boise is tied for first in their first 4 out on like every
Yep.
big media's bracketology. But
Yep.
they still are one, like there should be, back to the T3 guy, Love to know your name, T3. Oh, it's probably like Scott or something. I just forgot it. He has 6 teams
Yeah.
from the conference in.
I
Yet
mean,
we can't get like one from freaking Lenardi, and Boise's like not even in the how? How?
yeah. I mean, they have in my mind 5 locks like for the tournament. I
They
think
should.
Colorado State, San Diego State, Boise State, Utah State, New Mexico. All those teams should be locks for
100%.
as of today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Facts.
All right, so almost done with the recap, but I did want to talk about some teams that we don't talk about that often. They didn't really have that big of like games this past weekend, but they're playing really well. Samford, we have never talked about them on this
Yeah.
podcast, I don't think, but they're currently on a 17-game win streak. They're top of the Southern Conference, and they shoot 41% from three, and they shoot over 21 threes a game. So if they end up winning the Southern Conference, this is going to be one of those teams that nobody watched all season that's going to be super
Yeah.
dangerous in the first round.
Just gonna call now. They're gonna play Wisconsin first round and upset them by like 11 because like
Yeah.
Wisconsin plays just slow enough and
Uh,
Sanford shoots just enough threes. They'll win that
yeah.
game like 61-54. Like that's just
I
a
like
gross game to watch on a
that.
Thursday. And that'll be like the 3:30 where like you got a little bit of the adrenaline out of you already for the first day. And now you're like in the midday portion of the games before we get into the nightcap. And
Yeah.
like people don't see but probably half the game. And all of a sudden they look up their bracket. They're like, what the fuck, dude? I was Wisconsin my Sweet 16.
Yeah.
That's that game.
Oh. And I thought it was like I was just trying to see who had the longest winning streak currently, and they do obviously. And I was like, man, what? Where did I have I heard that from? They played Purdue in the opening game of the year, so that's I actually did watch one of their games. They got
Wow.
absolutely ran out of the gym, 98 to
Well,
45.
well, yeah.
But yeah,
That's interesting though. I wonder. I feel like Grand Canyon probably was close, and then they lost. Was it a week and a
yeah,
half ago? Yeah.
yeah. I would actually they were one of the teams I knew like I needed to look up to see if they were still rolling, but no, they lost in the last week. Dayton currently on a 12-game winning streak. They're 5-0 in the A10, and their only losses this season are to Northwestern and versus Houston. They also have wins over Cincinnati, Davidson, and St. John's. Little
Mm-hmm.
sneaky team here. I know like everybody usually has them kind of on their radar because of their success they've had recently, but Dayton, 12-game win streak right now.
Yeah, I actually came across them over the weekend. I know we've talked about them quite a bit in the last 2 seasons, but they always seem to disappoint down the stretch. So I kind of like out of sight, out of mind on purpose this year.
Yeah.
And then I seen a bunch of people calling them out as like potential like dark horses. I'm like, okay, so start looking into it more.
Mm-hmm.
Quality team,
Yeah,
quality
definitely.
team.
Yeah. And then the one trying to find a team to pick in the Missouri Valley Conference that you can like definitely see that they're
Just
going to win is
don't.
tough. But there's 3 of them that they're going to have like incredible records at the end of the season. Drake, Indiana State, Bradley, all 14-5 or better right now, and they're just absolutely rolling through conference play. Besides for playing each other, so one of them's going to be like a 13, 14 seed in the tournament, and we're going to have to need to know them because they're going to be picked as an upset. I just don't know which of the 3 to go with right now.
Yeah. So one of the big wigs, I forget which one it was over the weekend, said like it was when Arizona was losing, and then of course they came back and won. Like who's what like what team or what mid-major team, no name team, whatever he said, is going to play Arizona opening weekend. I
Mm-hmm.
said Indiana State, and Indiana
Yeah.
State I think will win. Indiana State has one of the top 30 offenses in the country. They can run with Arizona, and if Arizona does not show up, Indiana 100%, Indiana State 100% has the offense to win.
Yeah, I was just thinking like out of the 3, that's the team I want to make it
Oh
because
yeah.
they're more fun to watch of the 3.
Can you imagine the hysteria in Indiana if Indiana
Yeah.
State, Purdue, Indiana will be lucky to make it in.
Yeah.
Let's go. Evansville, maybe. IPFW potentially is going to sneak in. They're a good sneaky team.
Uh,
It might be hysteria in Indiana for tournament time, and I'm not sure who to root for.
yeah. And it might be only team that doesn't make it is IU. The rest of
Literally,
them.
literally. Notre Dame won't make it, but they
Yeah,
hardly
no,
count.
they're
Valpo,
garbage.
are they going to make it?
No, they're
No,
awful.
they stink.
They're so bad. So bad. All right, and then the last team, I knew we actually do talk about this team a decent amount, at least in past years. But St. Mary's, after a horrid start to the season, 3-5, they're 11-1 in their last 12, and really boosting that resume. And I think now at this point you might even give them as good of a chance to make the tournament as Gonzaga, because Gonzaga's
Oh,
doing themselves
100%.
no, dude, like they're just putting themselves in a hole right now.
By the time people listen to this show, Gonzaga, I think, plays Monday night, correct? Am
I do
I
not know.
delirious?
I think you might be delirious.
I hope I'm not. They either played, nope, maybe it's tomorrow. I know I seen them playing somewhere. What the F was that, buddy? Maybe I'm a liar. Where did I see them playing? I
They
don't know,
don't
dude.
play till Thursday.
Okay. Well, whatever. Apparently I'm a loser.
Don't be too
Fine.
hard on yourself.
It's fine. It's fine. Either way, they're playing someone decent, I thought. I don't know.
San Fran, Thursday night.
There you go. That's why. Maybe I was looking at
Hmm.
San Fran's record and saw they were playing Zags. There we go.
Hmm. And you probably saw this on the sheet that I sent you, because it's one of the games I put on the sheet. So
That's probably it. Sorry. I live a very fast-paced life
yes,
between work life and home life and this. That's 100% what I see. It was at the bottom of the sheet. I'm like, oh, Gonzaga. Okay.
that's hilarious. All right, it's time for the top tens.
Yes.
You want to roll first on this one?
Oh, buddy. You can't take how much big top 10 teams I got here. A lot
Okay,
of
I'm ready.
shakeups. A lot of
I am
shakeups.
ready.
And that was sarcasm for anyone. I basically just moved every team up that didn't lose. 1 UConn, 2 Purdue, 3 North Carolina, 4 Auburn, 5 Kentucky, 6 Tennessee, 7 Houston, and this is where the fun starts.
Okay.
8 Texas Tech. Their honorable
Oh.
mention naturally had to go up. 9 Dayton.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know who else to put here at this point. They have a good record. They seem to show up when they need to. Dayton. And honestly,
Okay.
I was gonna be funny guy and just leave it at 9 because I'm like,
Mhm.
no one deserves to be the 10th team. Like no
Yep.
one. Like I'm literally looking through. I'm looking at metrics. I'm like, yeah, these like Alabama has the best like metrics, but they stink and just got blown out. I can't put them there. I
Yep.
don't trust Illinois. I can't use that other team out in the Midwest that has a bird for a mascot. I was like, what do I do? So I'm just gonna stay tried and true to my heart's desire. I think this is still a good team, the BYU Cougars.
Okay.
After you just
Okay.
said you hate
Yeah.
them, they're in my top
Uh,
10.
okay. Well, that makes sense. All right. Yeah. There wasn't a bunch of shakeup. Only three teams in my top 10 lost last week. Two did drop out though. So Duke and Memphis, that were in my top 10 last week, did not make it back. So my number one team's still the same. It's going to be Purdue. Number two, UConn. Really, those are obvious now. One or two, either
Yep.
way. Three, it seems pretty obvious now as well. North Carolina, they just haven't lost in forever. So
Mm-hmm.
they just keep moving up. I have number four, Houston. Number five, Tennessee. Number six, Auburn. I have Kentucky at seven, just ahead of Kansas, who I have at eight. Number nine and 10, very difficult. It was nobody really
Yes.
deserves them, kind of like you were saying. I went with Arizona at number nine just because of their resume. They have the third most quad one wins in the
Yep.
nation. And then number 10, I hate to do this, but I have Illinois currently at my
Yeah.
number 10 spot.
Okay. Yeah. I can't hate those.
You know,
Arizona, I would have probably put in there at the 10 spot, but watching them play so poorly in the first half against UCLA, they're getting the Duke treatment from like 2 months ago.
mhm.
It's like I can't put you in the top 10. You don't, the eye test alone tells me you're not good.
Yeah, I can't, their offense is just so sporadic. They don't play defense. Yeah, it's a tough team to watch right now, but we got to have 10 teams in the top 10. So,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
all right, what is your updated record to this moment?
All right. I just want to call out for the people. I'm on a bit of a heater. I'm
Okay.
37 and 24 in the last 7 days, 61%.
Nice.
If you like to do the ROI, I'm up almost 14%. You can't get that to stock market. Can't really talk.
Walking.
Overall record, though, 614 plays for the year, 52.6%. I am 322, 290, and 2.
I am not hot right now. I am hovering at about 500 right now for about a week. So I'm just bleeding a little bit of money each night, but 209 and 159 and zero, still at 56%. But it needs to start turning around, because you can only live so much on losing the like the one bet each night before your bank
Yes.
account just starts a little bit lower.
Yes.
So,
We've had long conversations about that right there with you.
yes.
That's when you start to get like that that gambler's greed. You're like, I got to cook up a parlay to catch up with all
Yeah.
these like $3, $4, $5 losses per night because it just stacks
Uh,
up.
exactly. So I did have the games listed here, but did you have any specific bets you wanted to, or do you want to go through the list of games that I got?
Ooh, what would I like to do? I'm gonna do sidebar real quick. I know we're
Yes.
we're getting close on time, so I'm gonna shorten this up. Okay,
Hmm.
this is as of Friday, so I'm gonna call it that on myself. Okay, every single champion has been a top 20 offense in offensive efficiency in the KenPom and a top 20 offense, top 20 defense
Okay.
since 2008. Only team to not have a top 20 offense was the 2014 Huskies. Okay, right now, how many teams do you think fit that mold today?
Ooh, I'll go with a random guess of eight.
Okay, there are six.
Okay.
Those
Okay.
six teams: Purdue, Arizona, Auburn, Houston, BYU, North Carolina.
Okay.
So some surprises in there. Okay. However, from a pure betting perspective, because this is a gambling show at its core, best value right now would be BYU at 4,000. Music to
Oh,
my ears.
yeah,
Music to my
definitely.
ears as a guy that has a Final Four ticket on them.
Yeah.
Okay. Teams that are on the fringe. So I also did some digging back from 2018 and forward. Generally speaking, you need to be within 15 spots by mid February of that number to reach it. So as of
Okay.
right now, these are the teams that are on the fringe, meaning they're either rated in the top 20 in one of those categories or on the fringe of the opposite one, which means they're within about 20-ish spots.
Okay.
Tennessee, UConn, Duke, Illinois, Kansas, TCU, Marquette, Creighton, Michigan State, Villanova, and Wisconsin. Best values today: TCU at 6,000, Villanova at 5,500. Three teams, though, of note that do not fit the build for any of what I just talked about:
Okay.
Kentucky, Alabama, Baylor.
Oh, okay. That's
So
very interesting.
think about that. We've both have felt Kentucky and Alabama have been a bit weird. Baylor has seemed like a good team when you watch them. Based on the metrics, though, do not bet on them.
Okay, I like that. That you just made us all smarter right there.
I know. I did some digging, okay, but I said it was
Uh,
last Friday. Maybe we'll make this like an every other week thing. I'll update you where we're at, so that we can
yeah,
really set everyone up to win their bracket.
yeah, I love that. I love that. And something that not very I don't know how much you can rely on this, but Alabama is one of the most unlucky teams in all of the nation too. I'm looking at that. They are in the bottom 20 in luck. So
That's just disgusting.
all right. So I didn't have any bets yet, and there's no lines out, so I don't really know
Yes.
how much help that goes. I will just give some leans here, though. You said you like BYU at home. I'm going to go opposite on that one. I'm going to go with Houston. I like them much more than I like BYU, so I'm going to lean Houston there on the road on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I can't wait to watch Auburn, Alabama. It's going to be so fun, high scoring. I'm going to take the Auburn team total over in that one, and then on Thursday. Gonzaga, you got to show me if you're good or not. I don't know
Mhm.
how many points you're going to have to lay with them against San Francisco, but I just watched San Francisco play last weekend. I was not very impressed. So I'm willing to either, if it's five or less, I'll take Gonzaga minus the points. And if not, I'll just hit their team over.
Love it. All right, I'm gonna do rapid fire for the games you have listed here, okay? And then I'll give you
Yep.
games I like.
Okay.
I'm gonna lean Wisconsin on Tuesday night at on the road, Minnesota. They're coming off of a mediocre weekend. I think they can do better. I
Mhm.
told you BYU and probably the under in that game. They'll have it like probably a little bit higher because BYU can shoot the lights out of the ball, but Houston plays great defense. Over on Wednesday between Auburn and Alabama, that might be like a super lock mega whale play because how those teams don't hit the over is
Yep.
beyond me. Um, I'm going to take Northwestern actually straight up at home against Illinois.
That's fine.
I think that team has had high expectations. They've not really hit them. This is a big one for them, especially with an in-state rivalry.
And do you think Shannon plays? Do you think the coach allows him to play, or do you think he benches him?
I think national media and or Chicago media will push to let him play. I think those in Champaign will riot.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
mean,
so it depends
yeah.
on
I
where he
mean,
wants to go with that.
yeah.
Uh,
It's starting to sound like he's leaning towards not playing him from what I've read so far.
well, that's
So.
good. Colorado State, Nevada. Colorado State will cover. Nevada will win. Now, but I come off a big loss too, actually, over the weekend, so they need a rebound. Who'd they lose to now? I can't remember. They lost. It doesn't matter. And I hate Gonzaga at this point, so we're just gonna take San Fran.
Yeah.
I don't care what the spread is.
Okay, perfect.
Other games to note, since you did ask me that prior to that question. I got Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, Duke at Louisville. I'm gonna take Duke minus 13.5 again. Louisville stinks. I know they stink. Duke, huge loss. They need a massive rebound. They might win that game by 30. We've talked about it before. We got Florida State at Syracuse Tuesday at 7. You don't go into the dome and win. And as I've noticed, they actually have really good defense and terrible offense. So we're going under 150.5 in that game.
Okay.
And then lastly, the biggest game in this school's history coming up. I say school, we're going to say second. They did play a number 1 team prior to this. Ohio State at Nebraska Tuesday, 7 o'clock again. This might be for a top 15 spot, the way these teams are playing, and maybe a top 4 seed or like a 4 seed. Nebraska money line, take it home, minus 137 right now. Those are 3 bets that I love.
I love that last one. I will also be on Nebraska. Whenever they're playing at home, I'm auto betting them right now because that
I
place
think you
is
have
rocking.
to.
So
I think you have to at this point.
yeah.
They are an auto bet. You just
Mhm.
put your 1.1 units in and you don't look.
Yeah,
And
I
then
agree.
3 hours later, you look at your phone, you go, "Oh, they won. That's great." Because it's tough to watch. It is tough to watch.
It is. That is so true. It is very tough. All right, so next podcast we'll give you more picks. We'll have a lot more to talk about, like for the future instead of recapping the past. Go follow us on Twitter at MingoMade1 at Kyle Cliffy. We have our full list of picks out every night, sometimes even earlier in the day as well. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you next one.
Love you guys.